So, what if I told you that one of the oldest spiritual texts in the world wasn't really about spirituality at all? What if it was actually a 2,000-year-old user manual for the human brain? Well, today we're going to dive into that idea. We're treating the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali as a software update for your own internal operating system.
You absolutely know the feeling, right? It's like you have 50 browser tabs open in your head, there's some random music blaring from one you can't find, and your cursor is just spinning. It's this state of constant mental clutter, and honestly, it's just exhausting.
And this mental clutter, it shows up as some very common and super frustrating software bugs. Thoughts that just loop on repeat, that persistent brain fog where nothing feels clear, that low-level hum of anxiety that's always on, or straight up burnout. And of course, the big one, just not being able to focus on anything at all. Okay, so if we're going to fix these bugs, we first have to understand the hardware. Let's take a quick tour of your brain's operating system. Turns out it's run by four really critical networks that basically determine whether you feel focused and calm or, scattered and stressed out. First up is the default mode network, or DMN. The best way to think of it is like your brain's screensaver. It kicks in whenever you aren't focused on a specific task. Your mind starts to wander, you daydream, you worry about stuff. Now, a little bit of this is totally fine, but a hyperactive DMN, that's the real source of that looping anxiety and that annoying brain fog.
So, on the flip side of that, you've got the task positive network, or TPN. This is your brain's focus mode. This is what's engaged when you're doing deep work, coding, studying for an exam, playing a complex game. But here's the catch. If you try to brute force it for too long, it leads directly to stress and, you guessed it, burnout.
So how do we switch between wandering and focusing? Well, that's the job of the salience network. Think of it as your brain's task manager. It's this critical switchboard that's constantly deciding what's important right now. It's asking, should I pay attention to this email or should I pay attention to that worry that just popped into my head? When this network is out of whack, we either feel completely zoned out or hyper-stressed because we just can't focus on what actually matters.
And finally, powering this whole operation is the autonomic nervous system, or your brain's power supply. This system is in a constant balancing act. On one side, you've got the fight or flight response that revs you up. On the other, the rest and digest response that calms you down. Getting to that state of calm focus, it's all about keeping this power supply balanced.
So we have this incredible hardware, right? The DMN, TPN, the salience network, and the ANS. But what software are we running on it? This is where it gets really fascinating. The user manual we've all been looking for might have been written 2,000 years ago. It's our software update.
Now, this is one of the most foundational lines in the whole text. Traditionally, it's translated something like, yoga is the calming of the fluctuations of the mind. This is Patanjali's core instruction. You could almost think of it as his command line prompt for rebooting the entire system. And here's the really cool part, how we can translate that ancient code into modern neuroscience. Those mental fluctuations, the citta-vritti, well, they map perfectly onto the bugs we were just talking about. All that unnecessary chatter in the default mode network, and the chaotic, messy switching by the salience network, it's the same thing. And this is the crucial point. When Patanjali says yoga, he isn't just talking about physical poses. Not at all. He's describing the science of nervous system regulation. It's a technology for gaining conscious control over your own mental hardware. So, how do we actually use this technology? Well, Patanjali's manual gives us very precise instructions. Let's decode them by mapping each practice to its direct effect on the brain networks we've been discussing. First up is asana, work posture. Now, Patanjali's instruction is super specific. It should be steady and comfortable. This is not about forcing yourself into some rigid, painful pretzel shape. Why? Because a forced posture sends stress signals. A stable, comfortable posture does the exact opposite. It reduces all the sensory static from your body and, most importantly, sends a powerful signal of safety straight to your brainstem. Next is pranayama, or breath regulation. Okay, this is like having a direct keyboard to your nervous system. A slow, extended exhale, that's a direct command to activate your rest and digest system. That gentle, natural pause after you exhale, it literally quiets the DMN's mental chatter. And a smooth, even rhythm helps stabilize that all-important salience network, which improves your focus. It's amazing. And the result of all this? Patanjali wrote that after this practice, the veil over clarity is removed. Think about that. That veil is brain fog. He's describing a direct physiological effect where just controlling your breathing literally clarifies your mind. And finally, we get to the practices of attention. Pratyahara, or withdrawing the senses. This isn't about blocking the world out. It's about reducing sensory overload so your salience network stops freaking out at every little distraction. Then there's dharana, concentration, which gently engages your prefrontal cortex, the CEO of your brain, to hold your focus. This naturally keeps the DMN quiet without you having to fight it.
Okay, this all sounds great in theory, but let's debug a real-world problem. Let's talk about the stress and tension that builds up during hours of focused work at a computer. We all know this one.
Without even realizing it, so many of us adopt what you could call the threat posture. Your jaws clench tight, your tongue is pressed hard against the roof of your mouth, your shoulders are slowly creeping up towards your ears, your head is jutting forward toward the screen, and your breathing, it's gotten really shallow, or maybe you're even holding your breath. And here's the critical part. Even though you are perfectly safe sitting at your desk, this posture is sending a constant, subconscious stream of threat signals to your brain. Your body is basically telling your nervous system that you're in danger, and that triggers a low-grade, chronic fight-or-flight response. So, let's run a 1-minute system reboot right now. Seriously, try this with me. First, consciously drop your shoulders down, away from your ears. Next, just let your jaw go slack and let your tongue rest softly. Now, take one slow, really long exhale through your nose. Try to make it longer than your inhale. And finally, just a tiny, gentle head roll. That simple sequence, right there, instantly turns off that false threat signal and helps you get your focus back. So what's the ultimate goal of all this rebooting and regulating? The fully upgraded state of our OS is this really powerful concept we can call calm engagement. We can even write it out like an equation. Calm engagement is what you get when you have a balanced DMN, a stable salience network, and a prefrontal cortex that's exerting gentle control, not a white-knuckled death grip. This is the state of peak performance and, more importantly, sustainable well-being. And you know, this very modern neuroscience concept of calm engagement perfectly echoes this profound idea from another ancient Indian text, the Bhagavad Gita. You have a right to the action, but not to the fruits of the action. It's the exact same principle. Focus completely on the task at hand, with skill and presence, but without that anxious attachment to the outcome. So, the ultimate question isn't really about philosophy or neuroscience. It's about your own user experience. When you look at your own mental habits, your own physical tensions, what's the one bug you'll start debugging in your own operating system today?